Hey, welcome.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. I can hear you. Can you?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, welcome. Welcome to the show. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, and thanks for coming. So, just I wanted to introduce you. So, friends, today I've got a very special someone with me. We see in Choices some diehard fans who breathe Gar Choices stories and are so obsessed that they have read one book a zillion times. Those who cry, get upset when one book gets cancelled, delayed, or ended abruptly. But then there are those few who don't limit themselves in just that unfinished work or story in Choices, but go on to express their love to the story by making a deserving sequel to the book that originally was ended by Choices. And I've just got that exact person with me who is like some of us, a big diehard fan of One Choice's book, Ride or Die, a bad boy romance. But she came up with a unique solution, and that is making a sequel to Ride or Die on her YouTube channel and on other social platforms, giving this book everything that it deserved. We're going to talk more about this unique creation and the original Ride or Die book. Before we do so, Ridersley, let's at first get to know our guest host for today's show and her unique work and her passion in more depth. So go on. Um, go on. Introduce to our viewers.
Hi, I'm Choices.Lady on Instagram. And like your host said, I created two fanfics that followed up the first Ride or Die, a bad boy romance that Pixelberry ended. I started with the book two, and then now I am working on Ride or Die Ever After. And I am glad to be here.
Thank you. Like I said before, it's my pleasure you are here, and it's super awesome what you're doing. We're going to talk more about that, but first, I want to ask you these questions about generally how you got into Choices, because I remember how I got into Choices. I'm going to share that, but I feel like it's really interesting to know how everybody started playing Choices. So, how would you get in Choices? Like when you first started reading, how did you discover this app? Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, so I'm still fairly new to Choices. I started reading, I would say January 2019. And I was actually playing another game, Word Cookies, and the ads kept popping up for Choices. And then one day I just decided, let me see what this is about. And I clicked on it. The first book that I read was The Royal Romance. Um, and it was a pretty good book. I liked the fact that I could customize the characters, customize the love interest, and I found it really interesting. So I would say about 2 years and a couple of months now I've been playing Choices. And I think the second book I read was Open Heart, and I fell in love with Open Heart. I really liked that book. It was actually my favorite up until I read Ride or Die.
Awesome. I mean, I remember also around 2019, I started playing Choices, and at the time, I was reading other books. I remember I first read one interactive book. It was Wizard Love Story or something on Google Play Store. I found this app, and then I
Oh,
was searching. Yeah, and I was searching for other books, and then I stumbled across this Choices app. And first story I played was High School Story, and that sort of set up the standard for Choices. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. Well, I mean, the characters, the way it's designed, and it was super awesome. So, and my second book was America's Most Eligible, which was super awesome, like you said. So, I mean,
wow.
your second book was your favorite book, so my second book was my favorite book too for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, what's your favorite book now? Is it still the second book that you read?
Yeah, I would say it's really hard after reading a lot of books because
Yes.
different genres, different books. So yeah, all of
Mhm.
those books are my favorite. But like I said, America's Most Eligible and High School Story, those books I really enjoyed because those were really lengthy. So I liked characters were awesome, allies and other characters and story plot. Those are still my favorite, but new books are also favorites. It's really hard, like to choose from some. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, there's so many good books on the app, so many that I love. And then I just have those like because The Royal Romance was the first book that I read. That one's just like really near and dear to me because
Yeah.
of that. So it's just like it just kind of holds a special place in my heart. And Open Heart is one of my favorites. Quarters in Rome is another one of my favorites, and I have quite a few. I like Mismatch a lot. So it is kind of hard to just nail down one, but I have with Ride or Die.
Yeah, that's like your the most favorite book, the best.
That is, yes.
Best. Yeah, exactly. I forgot I had one book, but I always, when I play one book, that's my favorite. Like, for instance, when I play Hero, that's like, oh, Hero, it's mind blowing. But then I go to, let's say, to Highest Monaco, it's like, wow, this is super awesome. This book is not bad
Yeah,
either. Yeah,
it's a very good book. That Most Wanted,
yeah,
most of the crime books are really good.
yeah, exactly. And let's hope the new coming, the crime book that's coming up, that's gonna be good too. At least two are coming up, actually. Yeah.
Laws of Attraction. Is it that one?
Yeah, it's gonna be available on this Tuesday or Wednesday, Recon, and then I think later this year, Crimes of Passion. That's also like most one. It's gonna be
Okay.
these are gonna be FP or someone. Yeah,
Okay. I forgot about Crimes of Passion. I'm interested to see that one.
yeah, it's still in line. I hope they release it before December because they said we're gonna release a political book throughout the year, and they released Foreign Affairs on 30th December, I guess. So almost at the end of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, it was at the very end, and it
Yeah.
much anticipated.
Exactly, exactly. And they said this year, and they said later this winter, and then at the end of December they released it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So those books, like you mentioned, those are near and dear to you. Besides Ride or Die, and yeah, Choices app. So I do want to ask you this: when you first started playing Choices, I mean, when you first started playing the first book, Royal Romance, what was going through your mind? Like, were you mesmerized by this? Wow, this is amazing! It's a new app. So, what were your thoughts at that time?
Yeah, that was exactly my thought. It was a new app, and I had never, I hadn't heard anything about interactive novels or, any of that before. I would just see the ads pop up, and they were kind of funny. So I thought, well, let me check it out, and I downloaded it, and I did. I thought it was amazing. I thought the writing was good, and of course the story. The whole regular person becomes a princess type thing. Of course, that story's been done before, but I still thought it was interesting, and I still thought it was amazing.
Yeah,
And I
because
and I just fell in love. I fell in love with the characters too. Like I really like the MC from the Royal Romance, and I like King Liam a lot too.
yeah, that's the whole point. Like maybe it's done, maybe it's not common. It has been this kind of story has been there before, but you're playing it first. You are experiencing it, and you have creating. You're creating your own avatar character there and playing it. You are sort of living it in through this Choices app. So that's the best part about.
Right, right, exactly. It's like you're. I guess you're seeing it kind of as yourself as you play the main character. So that's what made it different. And most of the stories, a lot of them, and I hear a lot of people. That's one of the things people complain about. They say a story has been done before. Well, most of them have been done before, but I think it makes it different because you are playing as the main character.
Exactly,
So it's a different
exactly.
experience. You're not just watching it. You're
Exactly.
kind of living it.
Yeah, exactly. For instance, if I watch a horror movie and then if I play, let's say for hypothetically the same story in choices, but this time I'm the main character and it's not the
Mhm.
story same. We're having our lives. We have a different story. We're playing it, in a distinct way. So it's a whole lot of experience. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah,
it's just super awesome.
it is.
I,
That is one of the things that I like is that you can kind of put yourself in the story. And I'm not sure, if everyone plays that way. Some people may just play it and just go through the motions of it. But I do like to place myself, I guess, connect with that main character to really feel like I'm the one in the story.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, I do the same. I would like to ask you, how do you read it? Because when I'm reading Choices book, when I'm reading, for instance, the characters, I would like to be as much as them. I would preferably I would read out loud the lines, and I would try to pretend like it's in a movie it's happening, and the characters are acting that way, like with voice. So how do you read? Do you read in your head or out loud? So how do you read? That's an interesting thing.
Um, I think most of the time I read in my head, and sometimes I get really excited, maybe a certain scene or a certain part, and I may read out loud. But for the most part, I read in my head.
Uh huh. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, actually, I have this thing. I never read anything in my head. I can't. That's my like. I have this thing. I have to read it out loud. For instance, when I'm going somewhere, if I'm reading a poster off of the wall or somewhere, I gotta read it out loud because it's a problem I have. Like I can't read it in my head.
That's funny. Yeah, for the most part, I read in my head, and if, like I said, if there's something really exciting going on, then I may get excited and read out loud. But for the most part, it's in my head.
Yeah, that's yeah. It's a raw. No, no, I just wanted to know because I felt I would. This is gonna be interesting how everyone reads. Like I read this way, how everybody reads. Other one reads. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is super interesting. I mean, thank God I discovered choices though. I mean, I can't imagine now my life without choices. Because I love the stories.
I mean, it has definitely become a, a part of my life. It definitely has. Probably a little more than it should, but you know, it has definitely become a part of my life.
Yeah, exactly. And I now play the stories a lot less than I used to play when I first discovered it because I have almost played all the stories that are there. So, because when I first started playing, I would be reading all day choices and I'll be waiting for the keys for the diamonds because I would be
Yeah.
reading the story continuously, all the 15 chapters, 3 days, 4 days long. No,
Wow. So you've played almost all the stories? Oh my goodness. I
almost,
don't think,
almost. Stress and almost.
wow. I have not. I don't even think I've scaled the surface of how many stories I've played. I mean, I've played quite a few, but I know I'm nowhere near most of them. Yeah, I'm just a small fraction of how many I've played. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. But all the best books I've definitely played. That I can tell you.
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Then let's before we talk about ride or die, that's where we're here. Again, so you said you first played in Charles's Royal Romance. How what number book was ride or die? Was it your third, fourth, or when you started playing ride or die?
I read Ride or Die until April of last year. It was during the pandemic, like the beginning of the pandemic. Um, Initially, I was not interested in reading Ride or Die. I don't because I don't really care for the high school stories. So when I read like the description of the story, the main character was in high school, so I just wasn't interested. I just wasn't interested in a story about another high school character, so I didn't read it, and I didn't want to read it. But during the pandemic, that's when it was announced that Open Heart 2 was going to be coming out soon, and so that was, I think I just kind of went through looking at a book that I read to kind of harvest diamonds, and I chose Ride or Die to do that. And then I read it and I fell in love with it. Fell in love with it. And I just realized that it is my anniversary of reading Ride or Die. I don't remember the day, but it was this month a year ago that I first read it.
Congratulations. I mean, if pandemic hadn't happened, then you wouldn't have fallen in love with Ride or Die. So that's
I,
wow. So
I
that grows
probably
a
would
bit.
have. I probably wouldn't have. Yeah, I don't think I would have read that. I probably would have maybe, I don't know, maybe it tried to find diamonds another way, but it's like, no, I'll just pick this one. And yeah, just fell in love with it. Fell
Yeah,
in love with the characters.
yeah. When you now when you put it this way, I remember exactly last year because of pandemic, I watched two shows, and the second one I didn't want to watch at first, but then when it ended, it's I'm in love with that show. So yeah, because of pandemic, we're fan of some shows now that we wouldn't have been in normal conditions. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't even think I would have had, I know I wouldn't have had the time. I mean, just off work and just in the house. So I don't think I would have even had the time to, to really get into Ride or Die the way that I did.
Exactly. Wow. I mean, I didn't think that almost everybody has gone through that. So we discovered something new. That's cool.
Yeah.
So I would ask the same question that I asked about the other books. So when you first started playing, how did you feel? I know maybe you didn't feel the connection from the very first, but when so if not that's the case. So when you started getting the feeling that wow, this is the book that can define choices for me. So how was the experience? The ride with Ride or Die.
So, okay. So, again, because I was using it to harvest diamonds, I just wasn't trying to be attached. So, I kind of opened it all, chose main character, um, chose, just started reading it. And then it got a little interesting, but I still was just kind of reserved, like, yeah, this is just for the diamonds. I'm not going to be invested in it. Didn't spend any diamonds, but I think the moment that hit me was chapter 3 when Logan was teaching MC how to drive. I did take that diamond scene. At first I did it, and then at the end of the chapter I replayed it and then took the diamond scene the second time around just to see what it was about. And that was, I think that was the moment. And so, and to this day, that is still my most favorite scene in the book, was when he was teaching MC how to drive, the diamond scene part, because he was just open and vulnerable, and you just, I don't know, just kind of fell for him then.
Yeah, exactly. I totally I can relate with that. Not with that particular scene or book, but I had my that kind of scene. I still remember from America's Most Eligible with Jen. So yeah, I can totally relate that.
Yeah, yeah, that was the moment. And then after that chapter, that was when I started to get more invested and more connected with the story. Um, and it does kind of remind me a little of maybe the way my life was when I was 18. I met my first bad boy around that same time. I was out of high school, but just still around that same time. So then just the story started to resonate with me, and yeah, brought back lots of memories.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like second high school or second like living through that, for a second time, virtually.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Well, a lot of high schoolers these days, because of the pandemic, they're not going to have the high school they deserve. So I think Choices is their last place.
Yeah, they are definitely not having the same experiences. I hate that for them, but yeah, it because yeah, that's where you have a lot of your life-changing experiences, high school and then college. So
Tell me about it. Yeah, yeah, that's true.
they're
Um,
getting a bum deal.
that's true. So, talking about Li, I take it Logan is your favorite Li, right?
Yes, of all time. Yes, he
Why?
is.
Why? I mean, you had three. Why Logan?
Because I don't, I feel like he was genuine with his feelings, even though the relationship started off on a lie. Just their whole meeting was, not by chance, but just by manipulation, and it didn't start well. But just throughout the story, just you could tell that his feelings for MC were genuine.
Yeah.
Just his protective nature, I like that a lot. And just his interactions with the MC, just kind of, just I don't know, just it gets me. It gets me. It gets to me. And like I said, it because it was because the story resonates with me. He reminds me of certain people in my life.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah,
That's
have a lot of like qualities.
okay. I see. That's super awesome. I mean, yeah, that's the whole point. You see characters on Choices, and maybe can relate with them, and maybe not even not with the character all the time, but with situations that you've been through probably in your life, and specifically this kind of stories, like high school stories or yeah, college stories, like freshman. Yeah, you're right about
Yeah.
that. So, out of the three allies, Logan, Colt, and Mona. So, let's say hypothetically, you were playing a game. Let's say kiss, marry, or kill. So, what would you do? So, who would you? What would you do with three of them respectively? Like, if they are putting on the chopping board, then what would be your decision? Who?
Kiss, marry, or kill. Let's see. All right. So if I'm thinking back from when I first read the book, I'm going to have to go with kiss Mona, kill Colt, and marry Logan. I did not like Colt for a very long time. I had to reread and reread and reread before I felt anything for him. And I played with Colt as a love interest and Mona. I've played all three, but yeah, Logan's just my favorite. But I did not like Colt for a long time, so I'm gonna have to go with Kill Colt.
I mean, that's very sad that Colt is having this conclusion. I mean, of his life. I mean, I don't know why it's for with him. I mean, I don't know, very very unfair.
He was such an ass. I don't know. I just yeah, he would be the one that I would kill. I like him now, but the first I don't know, probably even when I played him as my love interest, I did not like him. I did not like his character at all. But
Okay, got you. I mean, that's just Colt. I mean, he'd be really upset. Like, why am I the only one who's getting killed?
yeah,
I
he would
thought
have to go.
you were having sympathy on me.
Yeah, Cole would be the one to go. But he does add something special to the story. So yeah, I mean, there's ultimately you could not do away with him in the story. He does add something special to the story.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's right. And by the way, you said I played it lots of times, and I played him as my love interest one. So wow, you played it a whole lot of time. I see. How many
I have
times?
I cannot count anymore. But it is somewhere in the double digits. I've yeah multiple times. Yeah, I actually have it open and playing it now. But that's more just for the fanfic writing. For my fanfic writing that I have it open and playing it now. But I've played it multiple times, and I just wanted to play it different ways just to see how the story unfolds based on the different love interests and based on the different choices.
Exactly.
So,
That's for
yeah.
sure. Yeah. I mean, let me know when you hit the triple digit.
Oh gosh, I will try to see if I can count, but it has been so many times, so
Yeah.
many times.
I see. I mean, so this book, I like the how it is described that it's you have so this specific story plot, like the thrill and the tension that the MC feels because she is sort of I wouldn't say she's stuck, but she is in a position where she has her dad who is cop, so a cop dad and an outlaw, let's say let's go with this phrase, outlaw ally. So when
Mhm.
you were playing it, so choices tried to um, depict this thing. How were you liking this thing, like you were living sort of two lives at the moment, like you have dad who is cop and you have an ally, or you have a group of friends, let's go for that, who are maybe not that bad, but to your dad or to the society they're still bad. So how was that thing when you the feeling, that thrill, the tension when you played that? What were your thoughts on that?
Um, much like much like I would feel in real life, like I would not want to disappoint my dad, but then at the same time, these are people that, and she didn't know them all that well in the beginning, but then these are just people that I don't know. She felt comfortable with them after, a certain point. She enjoyed having the friendships. So, I, I, I just felt like I personally feel like she could have maybe kept it separate. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. No, I would not want to disappoint my dad. Let's just say that. Like even in real life, my parents' opinion of me or feeling of me is important.
Yeah,
So, and the way that they see me, the way they look at me, it's important. So I kind of felt that way too in the story. Definitely
exactly.
wouldn't want to disappoint my dad. Definitely wouldn't want him to look at me differently. But at the same time, she did need to live her life.
Exactly.
If that makes sense. I mean, she was 18 and technically she's an adult, but she needed to live her life. It was an experience that she needed to have, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Agree with that. I mean, you have this thing, but I think the key is in finding the perfect balance. I mean, with the story what we had, like you're literally going with a guy who is driving car. He's breaking barricades and flying the car over greens and drive. I mean, not that, but still, I mean, yeah, finding the balance still, yeah, it's the key. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I don't want to make it seem like she needed to have these experiences and committing crimes and things like that. That is not what I'm saying at all. And I definitely would not even hanging with those kind of people or hanging around them and being friends with them. Definitely would not have committed any crimes. I
Yeah,
value my freedom too much, but just having them as friends, I guess, and spending her time with them.
yeah,
Um, if that was what she wanted, I
hmm,
don't see anything wrong with it. I don't
yeah,
see why she couldn't have that.
yeah. Like from the perspective of the story. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Right, right, right.
yeah, exactly. So, by the way, speaking of which, in the first chapter, remember there was a scene when MC is with Logan, and they were running from police, and then Logan suddenly drove the car through, and he broke some bridge or barricade, I can't remember, and the car was flying, and they landed on the ground, totally, unharmed, nothing happened. So, what was your reaction to that scene? I mean,
That, that was horrifying. That was horrifying. I honestly, I thought that they were going to maybe get into a terrible accident, and her father would find out anyway. That was my initial thought as I was reading it. But that was horrifying, and yeah, that was horrifying. And then the fact that he asked, do you trust me? And
yeah.
I chose at first, the first time I played it, I chose, trust you, like I don't even know you. No, so no, I don't trust you. But then when I played it again, it's like, yeah, I must trust you to even get in a car with you. I don't know you, so I wouldn't even get in a car with you. But if I would get in a car with someone I don't know, especially a guy, being a girl and get in a car with a guy and that I don't know, then I must trust them. So yeah, that whole scene, that whole thing was horrifying. That's something I know I would never do in real life. But yeah, it was horrifying to
I
know that you're breaking through barricades and yeah, car flying. Yeah, that's scary.
I don't think it's possible in real life either. I mean, technically not, I guess. I mean, if it's possible, we don't know. But still, I mean, yeah, you can do that. But yeah, definitely you'd be found in the hospital next day with three or four broken legs if you're lucky.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, and that's initially how I thought the story would play out. I thought that she would get into a horrible accident and then, her dad
Mhm.
have to be involved or have to know.
Yeah, that would have been so bad at the very first of the story. I mean, MC wouldn't have gotten the chance to know Logan, if that had happened.
True. Yeah. I mean, but there was just so many things that I thought would go a different way in the story that it just kind of panned out differently.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of the allies, do you think what's your honest opinion on this? Do you think we have, like we said before, we have three allies in here: Logan, the bad boy, then Colt, and then Mona. Do you think the ally times and scenes were well divided in the book? They are well divided in the book, or not? I mean, so how do you?
No, no, I don't. That was Logan's book. That was Logan's book. I mean, because for the first, what is it, 4, 5 chapters, I think it was the first 4, maybe 5 chapters. You only got to spend time with Logan, and the time that you got to spend with Mona and Colt was just within time that you're spending with Logan. So no, I don't think it was divided evenly at all. Yeah, that was Logan's book. I didn't mind, but I know other people. Um, who chose not to romance him. I'm sure that was a big problem for them, and it should have been. It was not divided evenly at all.
And I guess Choices didn't learn their lesson from this Logan thing because they're still doing the same thing with Ethan.
Yeah. Yes, and I mean, yeah, lots of lots of books they do that where there's just this one character or one potential love interest that is just front and center every chapter all the time.
Exactly. I mean, the name is choices, so I think players should have their choice who to choose, and the storyline should be well divided. I think Foreign Affairs was close to it, and yeah, that should be the case.
Yeah, it definitely should. If you're going to call yourself a game of choices where you get to choose, then yes, it does need to be written that way. Written to
Exactly.
where written to where each love interest gets equal time.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That would make it more interesting, and rather than, because it's taking a gamble, it's gambling, because you're going with one love interest. If people like them, it's good, but then if people don't like it, then you're gonna get the fire from them. And also, even if just one person doesn't like that character, or if one person wants to date another person, li, then I think that shouldn't be really disappointing, because the whole point of the game, like I said, it is choices. So yeah, everyone's
Right.
choices matter. Yeah.
Right. And it also it makes it difficult when you do have your particular love interest and then you have the other love interest, or maybe the one that they choose to put up front more, saying things in the story or doing things in the story that seem like you have a relationship with them. It's like, I'm not romancing you. Stop talking to me. That, I mean, that part, I think, is the most bothersome when you have made your choice, or when you've chosen your love interest, and then you have the other love interest still saying things in the story, or doing things in the story that seems almost as if you have a relationship. And that is the complaint that you hear the most about Ethan from Open Heart, is the things that they have him saying to MC is not something, it, it's not something that he should be doing if the MC is not romancing him.
Exactly. It's like you don't want to buy your food, but they're saying, "Look, there you go." They're shoving it into our pocket and saying, "Take it home. It's good. Try me, bro. It's good."
Yeah, just take it. Just let it happen. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like those
it's
YouTube
not
ads you
fair.
can skip.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I with Ethan, I think but also there is another side to this story. I personally feel this, because I think with Ethan we have played this story so far for such a long time, and now even if we are not romancing Ethan, even as a friend or his character, it's really interesting for like Ethan's ideologies, his fight with Bloom. So we do want to experience that. Yeah, let it be Ethan centered, but really getting Ethan centered and giving more diamond scenes related to Ethan that are going to get intimate. That's the problem, because yeah, we want to know
Yeah,
about Ethan, know all the dramas, but maybe we don't want to have the intimate moment with them. That's the thing. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, and you can have the hospital drama without you can have the hospital drama without the romance part, especially for love interests that you're not romancing. I have not I have not played very far into Open Heart Book 3. I think I've only I think I'm on chapter like 4 or something. I don't know. Yeah, chapter 4. I have not, I think chapter 4 or 5, but I haven't been very interested in playing it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's like a well division of everything. It really interests people, and it makes it more interesting and better. So yeah, that would have been the
Yeah.
case if they would
Yeah.
have gone with equal time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Exactly. Okay, so now moving on to the next one. This is a really interesting question I ask everyone, so I want to ask you too. Um, in High School Story, you had spring dance, homecoming, prom, and even in this book, Ride or Die, if I remember correctly, you have in this book a prom, I think.
Yeah.
So you see prom, homecoming, these things on in these books and in TV differently. So from your personal experience with prom and homecoming, what would you like to say? What are the difference between the depiction of these things in books and movies than the way they are in real life? So yeah, and maybe your experience with this. So yeah.
Um, well, as far as I guess maybe the generalization of prom, finding the perfect outfit and all of that stuff, I would
Yeah.
say that happens. That was my experience as far as my prom goes. But the it seems with Pixelberry, and I've only read. I don't know, maybe three books that had prom. That was My First Two Loves, Ride or Die, and I think It Lives in the Woods. Was there a prom scene there or a
I think that
homecoming
was a
scene or
homecoming.
something?
Homecoming.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. It just always seems like they have prom night as the first experience that the MC has, as far as sex goes. And that just wasn't my experience for my prom. Um it, I just don't feel like those are synonymous with each other, where, prom has to be, this night of romance, or
Yeah.
yeah, that I don't like. That I don't like. That wasn't my experience for prom, and I don't know. It just seems like that's the way every prom ends in Choices. And I've only read two books with prom, but they both ended with that. Some magical sexual moment for the MC.
So it doesn't resonate well with the real life, right?
Not for me. Not for me. Maybe other people, but no, not for me. I mean, my prom was just we just wanted to have fun, and yeah, and that just wasn't a part of the fun for
Yeah.
me.
Ever went to a prom in a limo, fancy
I
car?
did. Yes, did do that. But for my prom though, we rented a car. We didn't do the limo. I did do the limo at another prom. It wasn't my prom, but for my prom, we rented. I think it was like this convertible car or something. It was a really nice car, and that's what we took to prom. And then we went to like an amusement park the next day or something.
Wow,
Yeah. It was
awesome.
just, it was just about us having fun. We didn't. Yeah, I don't think we weren't thinking sex then.
Yeah.
To top the night off. That's not what I needed to finish off my night.
Yeah, exactly. I see. But I think in High School Story, the prom night, I think it was not about really going with have a hookup scene or an intimate moment. Yeah, it did have some, a romance moment with her Li, but it didn't have, I think, any, too extreme scenes in
Yeah.
High School Stories. Yeah, but yeah, like in My Two First Loves, yeah, it was really,
Yeah, that was another story that I had no no desire to read at all. My first two loves.
yeah. I mean, My First Two Loves. I read it. Actually, it came out every single day, so it was really a new format. I was excited about it. Well, I understand what you're saying. When I was reading, I was lost at some point. Like, wow, we could have ended this, but they went on to 100 chapters, and I think toward the end, I was so connected with them mentally. I was like, what? It's ending here?
Yeah. Yeah, it turned out to be a better book than I thought. I would not say it's my favorite. I would never read it again, but it was better
Impossible.
than I expected.
Yeah, I mean, 100 chapters. It's impossible to read it. I mean, I like the boy next door. I really liked main character and the boy next door, like the chemistry and how everything went. So, but yeah, for him, I played 100 chapters. It was, and the music specifically. I think they used the unique music whenever MC would get together with the boy next door, and they would have an intimate moment. I think some musics were used from the book with every heartbeat. So that those
Yeah,
scenes are awesome, and it's unique writing. It's in the first person. The main character is expressing that. So I really liked the storytelling. That was super awesome.
yeah, I did like that. I did like that it was in the first person, written in first person. I did like that, and I liked how they did it from different points of views. It wasn't always the MC's point of view. It was mainly hers, but then you had Mason's point of view and Noah's point of view and Ava's point of view, and I did like that. The way they wrote it was, I I did like their writing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that thing, what they're thinking, what their perspectives were. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's, I think it's a trial in choices. They try to try something new. And
Hmm.
well, I wouldn't say, so it's, yeah, it's good. But yeah, I think it depends on who is reading that. And also, but they could have done more with that because they dragged sort of at some point. But yeah, it's not the worst, I would say. It's really good, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely not the worst. Yeah, and I did enjoy it. It wasn't, and for it to be a book that I wasn't interested in reading, I did enjoy it. Um, yeah, but it's just not one of my favorites. So
Exactly. I mean, I felt like it was like what was the movie? To All the Boys I've Loved Before. That movie, it was like,
yeah, yeah,
I mean, all
yeah.
three together.
Yeah, and I don't know. And that's the thing. Like that type of story just does not resonate with me, and I think that affects the way I play the game. It definitely affects the way I play the game. If there's a character or if there's a storyline that resonates with me, then I find it far more enjoyable, and that storyline did it because I've never been in a situation where I felt like I was in love with three different people. And and having to choose, I don't work like that. My heart doesn't work like that. So it just didn't resonate with me. And I think that was the main thing with that book.
Exactly. Exactly. That's right. I mean, it's really hard thing, but I personally liked it because the drama it's really super awesome. And one thing, what's different with movie, in movie you have two people who, the main character is into both of the people at the same time. And when the main character chooses someone, maybe if you don't like that person or you wanted the main character to choose the other one, you get so upset, like what happened with John Ambrose, I think, in that movie. But in this book you can choose the person you want, so at least that's a something, right?
Yeah, it is. And I mean, and it would and it probably would have been better for the people who were romancing Ava if she had equal. I'm sure it would have been better if she had had as much time with MC as Noah and Mason had, because she didn't get as much time until like toward the end
Yeah,
when
agreed.
she started. Yeah, when she started getting time. And I did like that she was able to spend a little time with with everybody, just getting to know them, and I guess getting to know her feelings for them. But there wasn't a whole lot of time with Ava, up not until the end, and it almost felt like it was just kind of rushed. Like, oh wait, now I'm in love with Ava too, and it kind of came in as an afterthought.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the point like I was reading. Okay, so MC is already in a tough, like a sandwich between Mason and Noah, and now she's also
Mhm,
falling for Ava. I mean, what's
mhm.
going on exactly? That was like, wow, this is super weird, and all of them were for her. So it was like a reality TV. I mean, Emma mentioned one at one point quote like when I think Bella or someone who Ava was dating, she said to Ava like, "Well, you can ask Emma." So Ava said, "No, Ava is sorry, Emma. I mean, our main character is so popular now that even reality TV show stars will come to date her." I don't understand that.
Yeah, it was like reality TV. It's kind of like The Bachelorette.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That type of story. I don't know. I'm just like I said. I don't work like that. My heart works differently. I just so I couldn't get into that.
Yeah, understand that. But yeah, it was fun nonetheless. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So coming back to Ride or Die, from this Ride or Die, the original book, that the Choices book, A Bad Boy Romance. So one last question I have for you is that I personally like this. I have my own feeling about that. So I want your opinion on that. Like when you were reading the last chapter and the last few lines of Ride or Die book for the first time, okay, for the first time. So what was your feeling? I when I read it, I felt some emotions, and I every time I really like to read the last chapters and last moment because I think it's really significant for distant shores. Last moment was super awesome. So, well, yeah, walk us through that. How did you feel about that?
Um, I felt like the last chapter, I felt like the ending um, was maybe realistic, given the type of life that Logan led. And then MC having, to go on and, live the life that was planned out
Hmm.
by her and her dad.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like she still could have had both. That's just my opinion. I feel like she could have had both. Um, but I didn't like saying goodbye. So I did not. I still tried to avoid the last chapter, even on the reread. I'll read it to a certain point, and then I just don't. I don't like the goodbye in the story because I know it's the final. I know it's the end, and yeah, I don't like it. I don't
Yeah.
like goodbye.
Yeah.
Um,
It's hard to say goodbye. Yeah.
it is hard to say goodbye. It's hard to let go.
Yeah. Never gonna say goodbye.
Yeah, that's where I am now. I'm never going to say goodbye.
Yeah. Or hurt you. Yeah. I mean, well, technically, it was not the end if you see this way because Choices did have a book to planned. So, maybe you would have gotten in the Choices. You would have gotten with Logan, gotten together with Logan, and you would have had a different storyline. But yeah, but still, yeah, when it's a standalone at the moment, so you can definitely feel the pain when you are sort of. It's a tragedy, I would say, in terms of the genre. Yeah.
Yeah, and if they had never said that they would do a book two, I think people would have understood that because I did wonder where they would take the storyline, like what the sequel would have been about, how they would bring all the characters back. So I did wonder, how they would do that after the ending that they gave because
Yeah.
it was kind of final. I mean, it was kind of final, and like I said, and it was realistic. Just based on the way that Logan lived his life, with just not staying around, and with MC having already having her future mapped out for her by her and her dad. So it was realistic, but the fact that you said you were going to do a book two, and then at the last minute say, well, no, we're not, or not even the last minute after 2 years, and say you're not, and that's kind of painful. That's kind of painful, especially the people who have been waiting since the book originally aired. I had only been waiting a year, or almost a year, but everyone else has been waiting, a much longer time for that book too that they promised.
Yeah. It's like waiting for something that's not even there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I agree with you. When I read the last chapter, I also felt like, well, this is it. This is the end. And like you said, yeah, it's a perfect, rational ending. And it's a pretty good ending, with like all the endings are not happy. And that was a really good. If Choices said it ended there, it is still a very good book because if all the books ended in a happy note, happily ever after, we don't want to see that. In sometimes heartbreak, really there's some separation and stuff. Tragedy is also a good thing, so it's a really good thing still. So yeah, but Choices, they said themselves like, we're working on Ride or Die book 2. Open Heart, when it would be completed, would be releasing it, and then they suddenly said, oh no, wait, we're not going to release it. There's not going to be a book 2, son.
Exactly. Yeah, that I think that was what upset people because I think most people can agree that the way it ended, was kind of final, and maybe a book two wasn't necessarily needed because yeah, like I said, it was kind of final, but you said you were going to give it, and that's what people were waiting for. That's what people were banking on, and when you take it away,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was really hard. The cancellations of like specifically of Hero, a Hero book, I would say, because that deserved a sequel, Hero, because it still says
Yeah.
volume number one, so there's not going to be a volume two, and it's an incomplete story, Hero, because in the book one there are lots of mysteries that will be unanswered with the book two or book
Mhm.
three that it deserved because it's an incomplete book as of now. Yeah.
Wow. I haven't read Hero, but I have heard that quite a bit that from other people in the fandom just how the way it ended. I mean, it was set up for a book two and almost needs a book two to wrap up the first story, to wrap up the first part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've never read Hero, and I did read Most Wanted. And I thought that one too was kind of wrapped up in a way where it could have used a second book to maybe to finalize the things that happened in the first book.
Exactly. I mean, Most Wanted definitely would be still, incomplete without a book too. But I personally feel like in Hero, if you read it, you would see there are lots of hints, lots of things, throughout the book,
Hmm.
sentences and stuff, and they're meaningless when you end the book one because you have lots
Yeah.
of mysteries about lots of things, and that would have been probably, unpacked in the book two. But well, there is no book two, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that did seem to be a story that people were very upset about too. That, with them canceling the sequel.
Exactly. A very, very bad thing. But yeah, I understand what they said about, the explanation they gave, but still, it's still heartbreaking. Yeah.
It is. It really is.
Yeah. That's just like, but it is what it is, so we can't do anything. But yeah, so now talking about that, it is what it is. They didn't give us the sequel, and we didn't get it, so we can read the books as much as we want, but we're just gonna read one book. But the same thing happened with lots of books, even including Ride or Die. And Ride or Die ended abruptly. I mean, they promised a book too, but they didn't give us the book too. Now, Ride or Die, you, after the book one, where Choices left it forever, you picked up from where they left, and you started making sequels. And you made for one sequel that is book two, let's say, and the book three you're on, I can see. So tell me more about the sequels of Ride or Die made by you. I mean, more about it, I would like to know, and viewers would also.
Um, so the book two that I wrote, it picks up where that left off. Maybe not that same day, but some time has passed because they do go their separate ways, and some time has passed, and it picks up on with my MC. She's in college at Langston, and doing the college thing, just kind of living out her plan. uh, she gets involved in a new relationship, and then Logan shows up, and so it's based on their relationship, just how their relationship kind of evolves past where they were when he left or before he left. Um, but Logan shows up, it kind of changes her plans once again, and they do get together eventually. I think like chapter five, maybe. By chapter five, they get together, and then they go on to have other problems, other relationship issues.
Um, That's super interesting, and it's this kind of stories, you leave it at some point, you end it, and then you pick it up after 5 years. It's really interesting, like what changed or what happened with those people around you, how their lives changed, what's new. So it's super interesting, to start like start something like this.
Well, it is. I actually started a year and a half though after he left. After, the book one ended, I started a year and a half after. So I didn't let a whole lot of time go by. I mean, that's a lot of time, but not too much time to where it was unrealistic, I would say.
Yeah, but 1 year is still a long time. That's
Yes, yeah, it is still a long time, but then I think like, 4 or 5 years would have been
huge
too much
difference.
time to kind of just pick back up where you left off. Um,
It's
and
unrealistic. Yeah.
he and yeah, and he explains not in great detail, but he does explain like, what he has done, what he had been doing for that year and a half. And of course she's in college, so you know generally what she was doing for that year and a half. She's in school. She has her roommate that she's friends with, and just kind of hanging out with her. Um, and then they go on. They do end up getting back together. Then they go to LA for winter break, which the way that he left LA and the way that things were left with her dad and him. When he left LA. So I had to touch on that in order for them to get back there. And then Ride or Die Ever After, which is that is this this follows up book two as well. It's set in the future, and this is set 5 years after. So Ride or Die Ever After is set 5 years after the my main character and Logan got back together, and he's kind of flashing back on things that took place in book one and then in my book two. And he will go on to explain what he was doing. He'll explain more in depth what he was doing during that time that they were apart, during that year and a half that they were apart. We haven't gotten there yet, but that is coming.
Yeah, sounds super interesting, and it is so interesting. Like when I was going through, like you said, and the setup, I like it, and I personally like this kind of stories that picks up after a year or so, after a certain time. Let's just say not year, and yeah, I mean, like I said, how it changes and stuff, and then getting back together. Visiting your past, what happened, and accepting it and looking forward. So this is super awesome. I mean, kudos to you for doing this because it's not something everybody does. Yeah, maybe they can write a fan fiction like, you know, it's a normal writing, but going with the way you do it, like exactly the faces, the artwork, let's say, and the way it's so it's super awesome.
Yeah, I wanted it to be as close to Pixelberry as possible. And that's why I do it in the format um that I do it in, so that you see the faces, you see the background, you have the music,
Music,
because that
music.
all helps to tell the story. The music helps to tell the story. The background scenes help to tell the story, and then just seeing the characters' faces. Um, but that is why I did it in that format, because I did want it to be as close to Pixelberry as possible. And when I first started writing Ride or Die 2, it was really just for me. I was not writing to share with anyone. I just wanted something for myself to follow up the first book. And it was just personal to me. It was just something that I would read, you know, that I would write it and plan everything out, and then it was just something for me to have for myself. And a friend of mine, someone that I met in the fandom, she encouraged me to share it with everyone, and it's been received well. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the start, I mean, people like personally me also. I do read Hero again and again. Maybe I imagine what could have happened. I have my opinion about what could happen in book two. Now it's not there, but really, you wrote it for even yourself at first. It's not. I personally don't see any like a lot of people doing it. So I really appreciate that, and it's really something different. Like I said, so kudos to you for that. And then the way even I have read it, so the language, the way it's written and the plot, it's really hard because, well, in Pixelberry, they are literally, we have lots of people in Pixelberry. They have, for brainstorming, for writing, and then it goes through a lot of process, I guess, before it comes to the us in the app. So but you were alone. I mean, you've done it all by yourself. You first wrote it for you have written it for yourself, and then you have published it for everyone. I mean, it's super awesome. I mean, that just goes on to show how passionate about the book you are. Like, even if it
Yeah.
ended, you can go on to write one for on yourself, or by yourself, so on your own. And I think that's the point, encouraging people to like, so that they get so much attached to the book that they will cross all the limit and go above and beyond highways and byways to write another book, or like, to express their feeling. And it's really powerful. It really is.
It is because I felt like, I mean, like I said, I felt like the way Pixelberry ended book one, I do feel like it was realistic based on the lives that they've led up to that point. So I do believe that they could have gone their separate ways, but I also believe, and that could just be, my heart talking, but I also believe they could have both. She could totally have both. The life that she mapped out for herself, the life that she planned for herself, and her bad boy romance. I think she could have had both. I know it's possible. Um, and that's the perspective I'm writing from, that yeah, she's having both. And and of course they have to change some in order to do that. But if they truly love each other, they can do it. It's possible.
Yeah.
And that's the perspective I'm writing from.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to your imagination how you imagine it goes. It's also interesting, like
Mhm.
how you imagine they ended it, but from here you can pick it up. You can give it life. It's like, I'm just drawing a line and I'm saying, "Well, I'm just gonna stop here now." You can continue the straight line. You can make a flower. You can go on. It's your board. It's
Exactly. Yes, and I mean, and you said give it life. Honestly, just how much time and energy I've invested into writing the fanfics. I think it is absolutely giving me life to do it. When I ended uh, book two, because I was really only going to do a book two. Ride or Die Ever After was not even a thought. I was just going to do two and just leave it at that. And because it takes a lot of time, just the whole process, the writing, putting it in a PowerPoint, and it takes quite a bit of time. And I don't always have time to work on it as diligently as I would like to. So after I ended book two, that was going to be it. But I was so attached to the story at that point. I mean, or even more, I was just so attached to it. It had become a part of me that when I ended it, it was like a part of me was gone or a part of me was missing. And then I just had, the idea, it just kind of popped in my head to do Ride or Die Ever After. And I had no direction whatsoever where I was going to go with it. It just popped in my head like, you can totally continue it, just do another one, Ride or Die Ever After. But I can say Ride or Die Ever After is going to be the last one. There will not be a book four. I can say that with certainty.
well, who knows?
Right? I mean, I might end it and then still feel that way, but Right now, I'm thinking that, yeah, after this one, it won't be much more story to tell as far as those two characters go. The main character and Logan, there won't be much more story to tell or any more story to tell. I
Yeah.
feel like.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I mean, every good thing has to end at one point, and sometimes when, yeah, like you said, there is no story the probably left, and if sometimes some things are good with a very short length.
Mhm.
If they go beyond that, then it could get like there's not much story. It's probably gonna be the same. So yeah, I feel you. I totally get
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and I don't want it to get to the point where it's not enjoyable.
Yeah, like
Um, and where
yeah,
it's not enjoyable. And I feel like book two was enjoyable because it did show what happened after,
yeah. It's a
after
climax.
they went their separate ways. And then Ever After is enjoyable because it kind of gives, a different look. It's from Logan's perspective. So he's talking about, the things that he felt and things that he was living through and going through, um, you know, from his perspective. So after that, I don't know. There would be no place else to go with that. I mean, there's no more flashbacks that we can talk about. Yeah, and there's just nowhere else to go. And I don't want it to just be, you know, to the point where it's like, oh, here we go again, another one. Yeah, there's no more story to tell. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
I
I'd
get that.
rather
Yeah.
I'd rather it end on a good note than a bad note.
Exactly, exactly. You don't want it, if it's about to end here, I see a lot of story that ends really, in three books or in three seasons of movies and series, and they are really good. But when you drag it for, it becomes Vampire's Diary or Twilight.
Yeah, 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 it does. When you drag it on and then people are tired of it and just don't want to, don't aren't interested anymore. And I see that a lot with the Royal Romance, you
Exactly.
know, that whole series. And although I mean I genuinely like the Royal Romance, the Royal Air, you know, I like it,
Yeah, it's
but
not the worst. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't like it as much as the Royal Romance, but I do like it. But it did kind of drag, and I don't like feeling like, okay, this could have ended a book ago, or this could have ended 2 books ago. You don't you don't want that feeling, and that's not the feeling I want. Where people would say, this could have ended the last book, or this
Hmm.
should have ended the last book.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and also it is also as hard as it is to like to go through the process of writing one book and then to go on and on about to find a story, because like you said, oftentimes there's not much story to tell, and like
Yeah.
they just take one plot, extend it again and again in a different way. Yeah, so yeah, I
Hmm.
agree with that. That's why it should end at book three.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I know it's available on YouTube. So what other platforms it is available on? Where can one watch this?
So it's available on Tumblr under Ride or Die Chronicles. That's ride hyphen or hyphen die and then Chronicles. Um, it's also available on Choices.Lady on my Instagram TV channel. And then, of course, on YouTube, Chronicles, ride hyphen or hyphen die and then Chronicles.
Okay. So mainly YouTube, Tumblr, and Instagram, right?
Yes.
Cool. One question I do want to ask you. So you add this sort of say Logan's for I know this artworks, and other characters' artworks and the background and the music. So what software did you use, and so did you need to learn anything, or do you like an expert in this field, like you've taken a course or something? Because I don't know this. So would you like to
Um,
share some? Yeah.
the platform I use is just the PowerPoint because it I mean, it was just easy for me to use. I mean, I've been using PowerPoint forever, for school stuff, work stuff. So PowerPoint was the easiest, and then it's also available on my on smartphones. You can download the PowerPoint app. So it was I mean, to me it was the easiest. But then, like I said, when I first started this journey, it was personal. It was just for me, and so there was not a whole lot of thought as to as to looking for apps to put it on, or looking for different ways to tell the story, because it was just for me. And PowerPoint was easy. I could put in pictures and music and all that stuff, and the transitions, and it just goes. So there was not a whole lot of thought as to how I would present it. Although I did find recently that there is another I guess app I could have used. I can't think of the name of it, but it's similar to the way that Choices does theirs. And I found out about that recently, but I'm, I'm not going to change at this point.
Yeah, that's true. So when you first started writing for only yourself, so did you write it on a paper or something, or you just started making PowerPoint from that point?
I typed it. I just was typing it in a document. And then I did like 5 chapters. I just was writing, and every time something would come to me, I would write it, or type it rather, type it into this document. And I had like 5 chapters. And then I said, well, I want to be able to see, I want to do the pictures. I want this to be close to Pixelberry. And so that's when I put it in the PowerPoint, and, added the music to it. And I would just enjoy it that way. And then I was talking to a friend about it, and she was like, you should share it. It's like, you should
Yeah,
totally share it. And I did.
yeah. I mean, it's really it's good that she told you to share it because it's really awesome, and the way you came about this book, and then yeah, I mean, it's I would say like people, the fandom, like, and specifically the ones who liked Ride or Die and who were waiting for the sequel, it would be something for them because this is super awesome. Yeah, so it's really it turned out pretty well that your friend told you to share it and then you shared it. So yeah, this is great.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah, I mean, I know how hard it is to write something, and specifically something like a fan fiction too. It's really hard to start something. If you have a ball, you just can push it and you can start it. So if you were to write a new story, for instance, it would have been still pretty easy. But when you have a ball that's rolling with a constant velocity, and then someone tells you go and carry the ball on with the same velocity, you can't reduce the velocity, you can't do anything with the ball. It is high pressure because you
It
gotta keep
is.
moving the ball with the same velocity. And it
It
starts
is.
from the root. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was one of my biggest concerns about sharing it, is um, whether I was able to stay true to the characters, to straight stay true to the character. And I tried really hard to stay true to the characters, and which is why I, you know, was reading or rereading Ride or Die as I was writing it, to just try to nail the characters, and the things that they would say, the way that they talk, because I wanted to stay true to that. And like I said, just be as close to Pixelberry as possible. But for me to come in to something that's already been written, and they already have their idea of these characters and know how these characters behave and the things that they say, it's a little intimidating to try to follow that up. it's a lot intimidating to try to follow that up because of course I view the characters totally different than
Mhm.
than another reader does. So of course it would be different from the writers themselves, how they view the characters.
Yeah, it's your output, and like you said, it's a mad respect for you first because yeah, I just lately realized this fact when you mentioned it. Yeah, you're right because every character, for instance, they have their own way of speaking, and when you
Mhm.
hear something, it's easy to just mimic them. That's how they speak. But when you are, it's really hard to distinguish the difference when you're just reading it, when you're writing something, and still in terms of using the language, they are someone's from a different place, and the way that they speak, and it's really hard to understand from or distinguish from writing, and then to represent like what language they use, what word they use, and what word they can't use. You can't be
Mhm.
saying a person who is maybe a gangster saying something like that they wouldn't say. So it's I just lately realized when you mentioned it. Yeah, I mean it's super
Yeah.
hard. You're right.
Yeah, it was, and that's why I just kept the book open and would just reread it, read certain parts, just to try to really nail the characters. And I hope people, I hope people feel like I did to a certain extent. I tried.
Yeah, I mean, there's no place for complaining, because in the first place, you did what some, a lot of people won't do. It's unique in the first place, and in the second place, you picked it up from somewhere. What Pixelberry, the main creators, they left it, they abandoned it, and you picked it up from there. And in the third place, personally, when I feel like, well, I don't see me doing something like this. Like I said, I tried to write some story, it failed. It's really hard. I do appreciate this because I know how hard it's to write something too. And a big thing, short story I always go for, because to write a lengthy something, it's something really. I know one of my friend does that. I don't know. He wrote something of 1,000 pages. I don't know how he does that, but
Wow.
how people do that. So it's matter.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, so for the book three, if I tell you to like a thriller, if you are to say the main plot a little bit of the book three and a little bit of book two, without giving away much, what would you like to say? The right about the Rider Die book two and book three, the ever after thingy. Yeah. So in your own language, without giving away much, just a teaser, sort of. Can you give us that?
Okay. Yeah, I can. So book two is basically just the trials and tribulations of the MC and Logan just finding their way around their relationship. And now I'm doing, air quotes, a normal relationship. Because the relationship they had before was not necessarily normal. I mean, it was built on a lie for one, and then it basically about the crime that they were committing, the things that they were doing. But now that we've taken that stuff away, we've forgiven the lie, we've taken the crime out of it. Now they're just navigating a relationship, and these are new things that are different for Logan, a lifestyle that's different from what he was used to, and he's having to navigate that within this relationship. And book three is just kind of ties up maybe some questions that you may have had about book one, even, and then about book two. It just kind of fills in the gaps of that. And yeah, they do kind of get there happily ever after, but you know, it just lets you know how they got there. The
Mhm.
things that they did and said and
Yeah.
thought even to get there.
Yeah, sounds extremely awesome. I mean, yeah. So definitely that. Um, so that's all from this Ride or Die book. And before I conclude this, I would give you this. Do you have any questions to ask or anything? I mean, related to choices. It doesn't have to be necessarily about Ride or Die, but anything to share your opinion, your thoughts, something you want to share, anything you want to say, anything. Yeah.
Um, other than it just being a part of the Choices fandom, it has been great to get support from other people in the fandom. It has been great being able to interact and talk with other people who maybe feel like you, and even people who don't feel like you, when it's done respectfully, of course. Um,
Mhm.
just just I've enjoyed my time in the Choices fandom.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's about that, right? So it's individual choices, but also how you can relate to others. And even if you don't relate to others, how you can get to know about them. Like maybe you don't like Mason, for instance, from My Two First Loves, but someone likes that, and you get to know, wow, that's so cool. So I have never seen Mason like that. Maybe you can know about
Right.
like miss something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And being a part of that community. If you're a Choices fan and you read Choices, I think I think it's good to have that community where you can talk about it. Because without it, you're just talking to your family and friends, and they're not interested. So it's good to be a part of that, to be a part of the Choices community, and I've enjoyed it.
And by the way, mentioning Choices community, I see on Instagram, and boy, everyone talented or not, or is because
Yes.
I
Yes.
see like fanfic. Like you came up with the fanfic, and it's not. I wouldn't call it a fanfic. I would call it the the sequels that it deserved originally. And then people I see drawing like the artwork specifically. Choices specifically shares some of the artworks, but even if not, they go I don't know how they do it. I mean, so much talent, some of the
So much
drawings I've
talent.
seen, and some of the poems and stuff, it's just endless, and it's a thing, I guess, because we have this choices and surrounding choices, and all the fans are coming out and they're writing something, and they're being creative. Choices is something, and
Very.
they're not just limiting themselves to the stories, but they're going above and beyond. They're enriching themselves, the whole art. Someone's writing something, maybe making a song. So it's just super awesome. It's a very rich, I would say. I don't think any other community I have seen that rich. I mean, yeah, they get so super. Maybe if you're a sports fan, you get entertainment out of that. But it's sort of, you are doing something that is developing your personality. You're personally developing yourself. And also everyone around them. So it's a really positive thing. Yeah.
It is, and it is so much talent in the fandom, so much. I mean, so many good writers, so many good great artists. And yeah, like you said, the even the edits that people do are amazing. So yeah, it is so much talent within the fandom, so
Yeah.
much. And that was one of the things that kind of drew me to the fandom. I didn't even know there was a fandom to Choices until I think it was June of last year. Yeah, June of last year when I found out there was a whole fan base, a whole place where people could commune and talk about Choices until June of last year. And then when I joined the Instagram fandom and just seeing the amazing edits that people were doing, and it is, I mean, it's mind blowing. It is so much talent, so much talent.
I mean, if nothing, if at least if you're having a bad day, watching those, you're just scrolling through the Instagram posts about choices. I mean, it would make you crack up. Legit, they're
Yeah.
legit fun. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some days that it does. It can definitely give you life, and it can make your day. And then the friendships, the people you meet,
Yeah.
and the relationships that you find there. I mean, yeah, I have a supportive group of friends that, we talk regularly, and sometimes just the things that they say just literally makes my day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's about that, right? Because it just surrounding something like I said, finding people, enjoying it together, and just sharing love and passion and being creative, helping other to be creative, and just making it's like a garden. How well you can sort of renovate this? How well can you how can sort of make it look good? How you can yeah, so that's
Yeah,
all.
make it grow, make it flourish. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
That's right. mean, and well, it's been really fun talking to you about your unique work and your fun for your your craze for ride or die and the fan you are. And yeah, it's been a really fun 1.5 hour. I didn't know it just flew by talking about choices.
Yeah, yeah. It's been good talking to you as well. I've enjoyed.
Yeah. And just to our listeners, so if you are a fan of Ride or Die, and if you feel salty after the cancellation and about the fact that you only have just one book of Ride or Die, then go to her YouTube channel, that is Ride or Die. Um, Sorry,
Chronicles.
Chronicles. Yeah,
Right, yeah, yes. Ride or
Ride or
Die
Die
Chronicles.
Chronicles or Choices.Lady, Choices.Lady on Instagram and or on Tumblr. I'm going to be linking the links to those channels and videos in the description box below and in the comment section below to this video. So that's not a thing to worry about. I would be linking that. So you can go ahead and check out her unique work, really unique. Where Choices left it, she picked it up from there, and she made two sequels to Ride or Die. And you're gonna enjoy it because super awesome. So go check it out and have fun. Have a fun time. And on that note, I really want to ask you, do you have any plans to make any more sequels to any other Choices books? Because there are lots of books that have been ended abruptly by Choices, like Distant Shores.
Um, at the moment, no. Not at the moment, no. Like I said, it's so time consuming,
Yeah.
and the only reason that I take the time that I do take, having to get moments to do this is because I'm so passionate about Ride or Die. And there's not another story that I am this passionate about. There are lots of stories that I love, but
Yeah.
none that I am just so passionate about as Ride or Die. So at the moment, no, but you never know.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future, maybe with some of the
Who
new
knows?
stories coming out, I may feel like I want to finish them. Yeah, maybe in the future, but not right now. None that I can think of right.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's quite natural. Yeah, I totally get your point. Yeah, and like I said, it's been really a fun 1.5 hour. I didn't know when it passed by. It just passed by without noticing. And thanks for coming to the show and talking with me about your passion, about your unique work, and about choices. I really appreciate that. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. The pleasure's all mine. And like I say, if you, I mean, I would definitely like to have you on the show again, discussing about other choices books in the future. So do feel free to come along if you really like it. Because if you had a fun 1 hour, because if you think like it was not fun, then yeah, I totally understand. But yeah, if you wanna come back, then no, just I'm more than happy to again host you here because it was really fun. And I really love when I have other people to talk about choices because it's super fun. You just share the same things. You go through, you talk about the experience of choices. It's fun. Yeah,
That sounds good. I would love to come back. I would love to
yeah.
come back.
If you enjoyed and if you think you're going to enjoy when you come back, then definitely you're welcome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So I hope it's I know it's morning for you. I hope I didn't take up much of your time of your day, and yeah, have a good day then.
Thank you. Thank you. You do the same.
Yeah. See you again then. Bye. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye. Yeah. Thank you.